Hey everyone, and welcome to our final session of today's Training Industry Learning Tech Showcase, AI and Training, sponsored by Big Tin Can, CGS Immersive, Corporate Visions, Skooks, and the Regis Company. So again, I'm Liz Spate, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. Again, before we get started, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's program. So again, feel free to use that chat window for any comments and submit those questions. This is going to be a very interactive session, and we have the Regis team here ready to address those. So plug those away while they come up during this demo. And at the end of your time here with us, you will receive that short evaluation survey, and it will pop open in another tab in your browser. We would appreciate your thoughts on today's event. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us that will include the link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. If this is your first Training Industry event, we would love to welcome you. We exist to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's showcase, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, our membership, and our podcast. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platforms so we can continue that conversation. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Maggie Lowenberg, the Regis Company subject matter expert, and Sarah Brown, sales consultant at the Regis Company. So ladies, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Maggie, if I could have you share your screen. Maggie. Hi.
Hi,
Thank
sorry about that. Let me pull this up.
you so much.
All righty. Just 1 second. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Learning Tech Showcase. Today, you're going to see how AI can cut training and development time by 90%, all while improving results. So we're here to show you exactly how this can transform your L&D strategy. Liz, thank you for the wonderful introductions. I'm joined here by Maggie. And as we start, here's exactly what we are going to be covering today. So we're going to start with some uncomfortable truths about where L&D stands today, then look at the perfect storm heading your way in 2026. After we diagnose the problem, we'll show you a completely different approach, and you'll actually get to see it work live. So we will try to monitor the chat. As Liz mentioned, we've got the team behind the scenes to do so, and answer any questions either live or at the end. All right, so 3 statistics that reveal the scope of our problem. First, we're hearing that 76% of L&D professionals admit that they actually can't keep up with evolving skill needs. I want you all to think about that for a second. That's 3/4 of our profession that feels like they're losing the race against change. Second, only about 10 to 20% of learning content actually changes behavior without deliberate practice. So we're creating mountains and mountains of content that learners are going to consume, and then nothing. No behavior change, no performance improvement. Third, organizations are wasting about 80 to 90 cents of every training dollar due to poor skill transfer. The root cause of all of this, we think that we've been playing the wrong game entirely, measuring seats filled instead of skills gained, tracking completions instead of competency. And these pressures felt across the industry are only becoming bigger pain points. So as we look ahead to 2026, We've been talking with a lot of CLOs, and this is the challenge that we consistently hear. You all are really facing a triple threat. So we have cost pressure where price per learner spending has dropped 20% since 2019, while learning hours are down 21%. You all are being asked to do more with less. We also are hearing about quality demands. Brutal reality here is that 96% of CLOs are demanding impact data from learning initiatives, but only about 8% of L&T teams are actually able to provide this. So this gap between expectation and capability is widening every quarter. Transformation urgency is the next one. So 70% of skills will change by 2030. And AI is going to affect 80% of workers by 2026. So this isn't just a gradual shift, it's an acceleration that's going to require immediate attention. So before we dive into solutions, we want to understand where you all are feeling the most pressure. So go ahead, answer in the chat. Or in the poll, we want to know what challenges are feeling really heavy for you right now.
We'll give everybody about 5 more seconds. The results are looking really good.
Perfect. All right, thank you all. So we are feeling it too. One of our biggest pain points that we're constantly hearing, that we're constantly feeling, is that traditional L&D is really forcing an impossible choice. So we have scale on one hand, means getting training to everyone, fast and cheap. Volume, reach, speed, checking compliance boxes, and hitting enrollment targets. It keeps the light on, but the question is, does it actually work? And then on the other side, we have effectiveness, creating learning content that genuinely changes performance. So here, quality, impact, real results that actually move business impact. It works beautifully, but it has taken forever and it generally has costed a fortune. So for years, we've been told that this is just the reality of L&D. You can have fast and cheap, or you can have good and you're forced to pick one. But what if that fundamental assumption is wrong? What if AI's blown up that old constraint and made both possible simultaneously? Organizations are already proving that this isn't just wishful thinking. So let me go into the paradigm shift that makes this impossible possible. Perfect. All right. So the fundamental shift that we're advocating for here at the Regis company is moving from old world into new world. So old world is going to focus on knowledge verification. Did they learn the information? Select the correct answer. We measure this through multiple choice tests, self-reported confidence levels, manager observations, and course completions. They're all passive indicators that don't predict real-world performance. On the other hand, New World is focusing on behavioral validation. Can they apply what they've learned? How do they approach complex problems? We measure decision patterns, performance evolution, speed to adapt, and applied judgment. So these are going to be active indicators that directly correlate with job performance. The difference really is profound. Knowledge verification asks, do they know what to do? Where behavioral validation asks, will they do the right thing when it matters? So which one of these questions is going to be more impactful for your business results? So within the SimGate platforms, SimGate delivers 8 advanced capabilities that directly solve the challenges we've been discussing. Neuroscience-based design, engaging experience, so creating scenarios that are so realistic and compelling that learners can choose to participate rather than clicking through passively. Unlimited scalability, rich data analytics, accelerated development, enterprise maintainability, it being fully customizable, real world contextualization where you're able to mirror the actual challenges, constraints, and decision points that people face every day. So this isn't just about better training, it's about transforming L&D from a cost center into a strategic advantage. So SimGate enables you to deliver measurable business impacts while reducing development time and costs. How do we do this? So here's how SimGate works in practice and what you're about to see in our demo. Not only are we building on our 20 years of learning science and experiential learning practice, now we're complementing it with the best of breed AI partners, allowing speed and quality like we've not ever seen before. So in the demo, you'll see how all of these integrations work together seamlessly. So let me show you now how these pieces come together in one unified platform and how we've built the platform to work for you. All right, so most L&D departments, they really do juggle multiple platforms, one for content creation, another for delivery, a third for analytics, and maybe a fourth if you're doing virtual sessions. Each handoff is going to lose fidelity, it's going to create complexity, and it is going to fragment your data. So first we solve for self-guided. So you're taking e-learning knowledge into skills practice. Next, you can take your virtual workshops and incorporate gamified elements, have teams in breakout rooms, and give them scenarios that feel contextually relevant to discuss and review in small groups. Third, you can take your in-person experience from sitting in a presentation room to creating scenario-based learning, where they see a live leaderboard. And the most important is that in each of these, we get performance data that can be funneled into your LMS and talent development systems. It will help you and your business make better decisions because you have reliable and relevant data. So you've heard the claims. Gonna hand it over to Maggie to show you exactly how this works.
All right, so we are going to jump into a demo of the SimGate platform. When we first enter the SimGate platform, you can see that we're supporting the entire learning ecosystem from the various stages of design and discovery and content creation to developing your course to delivering it and being able to see all the analytics tools. Over the next 15 minutes, we're going to go into each of these. There's a lot here. I'm going to be talking fast. Let's get started. So when we first start within the SimGate platform for the content creation, we have our co-author of Rex, who's going to be there to help us identify how we can build this learning experience. So let's say I want to start a new learning program. Maybe I am a learning designer that needs to help a team of emerging leaders upskill and reskill for the future of work and leaning into some difficult conversations. You can see that we have a variety of templates. We call these smart templates to choose from that will help us build a course out. On the right-hand side, it provides us a description of what would be included in this course. So we have examples of experiences that would be best fit for a VILT or ILT type of workshop experience, or things that are more bite-sized or reinforcement of learning. What's great is we're taking our 20 years of instructional design expertise to help our instructional designers with building out exactly what pages we would need for this course. So that's what we're seeing on the right-hand side. So let's say I want to create a micro learning experience. I'll go ahead and get started. Within each of our client enterprises, they have a secure and private instance of their own Rex environment. So you can ensure that anything that you're inputting and communicating with Rex on, it is secure, it's not being trained by our AI, and it's, once again, a private instance. So when I first get started, I just need to know some basic information about my topic. So I know that I want a training that's going to be focused on middle managers. They're helping with people and processes. Maybe they're working at a fintech company. What I'm now going to be doing is sourcing content based upon the prompting that Rex has provided for me. What's unique about this is instead of having to come up with ideas or content that I might need to output for a large language model, Rex is going to guide me every step of the way. So you can see here, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. You can see Rex is beginning to output information that's focused on what it is describing as my industry of the fintech industry. At any point in time, if I don't feel like it's exactly aligned, I can continue to refine this with Rex. So making me a co-author throughout this entire experience so that it's aligned. As we continue forward, now I'm going to begin to think about, I know what my industry is, I know who my learner is, but how can I begin to create some mental model shifts that will help my learner actually change their behavior within this experience? Because ultimately, that's what makes a skills practice experience unique. So what I want my learners to focus on is here, they're having some challenges with conducting difficult conversations. Well, why this is important? Well, I know if I want them to be true leaders that are empathetic and servant, things that are important to my business, I need them to demonstrate these skills. But this can be challenging because having direct and critical feedback conversations can be uncomfortable for middle managers. So now Rex is going to take into consideration this additional information and continue to build upon the storyline. So you can begin to see here are some specific situations that this middle manager might experience if they're on the job. Okay, we're going to flash forward a little bit because we don't have the entire time to go through all of the prompting today. If we were to continue forward, I'd say it typically takes, if you're really doing thorough reviews, aligning the content, I would say it takes about 45 minutes to an hour for to go through this prompting sequence for a micro learning. Here we can begin to see we left off at some of the subtopics. So we would begin to identify what are some of those specific things surrounding difficult conversations I want my middle manager to focus on. We would then get into the learning objectives that are based on Bloom's taxonomy. And once again, at every point of the way, I'm able to be in charge of identifying what is accurate and verifiable and what do I need to continue to change. And then finally, what makes a skills practice experience unique is that we're going to be able to track data throughout this experience. So one metric that I want Rex to create a scoring model on is team morale. So it's going to automatically create some of that scoring. On the left-hand side, once I've finished all the content for my experience, I'm now able to begin the actual pages of that experience. So within every skills practice experience, we want to ground learners with background information, help them step into the shoes of this learner experience. So we might have an AI avatar who is going to welcome the learners. We're going to have a compelling video that's with our Pictory AI integration, and then it's going to build the actual pages for our activities. So when it's time and we've gone through our entire steps of building out that sequence, I can now export it into SimGate where I can begin to see what does this experience begin to look like. And that's how we're able to get to that 70% done on day one, because I'm going to have a functional prototype of the content that I've now sourced from Rex. So it's now opening up into SimGate Studio, this project, and I am going to now be able to release this program. And now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And now it's going to bring everything that I just created and reviewed with Rex into SimGate. Now, some of the things to note is that in Rex, if you want subject matter experts or SMRs to be able to review anything before publishing it in SimGate, there are ways to export that over, both as a doc and PDF for review. So this is what we call wire flow. These are each of the pages that we've now created from Rex, and I want to show you directly what's been taken over from Rex and now published in SimGate. So we can see our AI avatar, our welcome page is being created right now. It's still rendering. We have our scenario that was carried over, but you can also see this is still a prototype. It's not done completely. I want to now show you what a finished experience looks like. So I went in, I created this emerging leadership experience in about 8 hours. Spent some time going through updating some of the look and feel to it, customizing it so it has a certain brand element. And now we're going to step into the role of learners. So as you know, we're middle managers. We have 5 direct reports and 1 team lead who are reporting to us. And our upper management has tasked us with completing a company-wide initiative. But guess what? Our team is working in silos and our team lead isn't stepping up in the ways that we need them to. So we're going to be leaning into some difficult conversations. There are a few different stakeholders we're going to see that come throughout this experience. Here we can review what motivates them to help drive some of our decision making. As we go through our decision making process, we can see after every activity, how is that affecting our performance, both within team impacts and leadership development? We're going to be weighing those trade-offs and seeing those results. And it's more than just KPIs that we can track. We can also see how our decision making is driving building trust with certain stakeholders or eroding that. Once again, just like in the real world, when we make decisions, we're going to be weighing those impacts. And instead of doing it live while on the job, let's see how this looks in a rehearsal environment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our experience. Remember that Pictory video we started with a little bit ago that had that compelling storyline? Well, let's take a look at what it looks like once it's finished.
Welcome to your learning experience. As we embark on this journey together, it's essential to recognize the pivotal role that leadership development plays in the success of.
So I remember at my last company, we used to spend thousands of dollars to create a single video. And then of course we noticed that someone may have changed roles and then we have to go through reproduction again. That was really costly and not scalable. What's great about this integration with Pictory is, hey, you can still have this compelling video and storyline, but now because it's AI generated, we can very easily make updates on the fly. Okay, we're gonna move forward. Let's now prepare for our first scenario. We're going to hear from our AI guide.
You are in a virtual team meeting, reviewing upcoming tasks for the product launch. You notice your team is on camera with the exception of Alex. He remains off camera and muted. Your direct report, Faiza, begins to ask Alex a question, and you can tell you need to prepare to address this situation if he doesn't respond.
Okay, this was actually something that happened to me when I was a manager. I had a team, I was in a meeting, and one of my direct reports, someone who was a leader, disappeared. And I wasn't really sure how to react in this situation. Now imagine being able to provide your workforce the ability to practice situations that are very common before they actually happen. Okay, so we're going to step into the role of a learner. Let's hear from Faiza.
Alex, the data we receive from you seems to be inclusive of testing tasks but is missing the QA outcomes. Could you update the report to include this information? Alex, are you there?
All right, so Alex isn't showing up. I now need to decide as a manager, what am I going to do? Am I going to acknowledge Alex's absence? Am I going to ask FISA to follow up with Alex? Or am I going to try to get Alex to respond? I think I'm first going to try to get Alex to respond. Well, when I make my selection, all of a sudden these perspectives come up. And this is now going to provide me with additional information that's been scaffolded that may sway my opinion depending on how I want to respond.
Alex seemed pretty stressed when I talked to him earlier in the day.
Okay, so Sam, my team member, is letting me know Alex was pretty stressed. So I might not have Alex respond here. I think I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge his absence. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be empathetic to what's going on, but I also know I need to follow up with Alex and hold him accountable. So once again, you can see how within the SimGate experience, we're able to continue to scaffold information and help learners weigh their decision making. Okay, imagine we've now gone through a few different experiences. Maybe we had a video branching conversation with Alex where we confronted him directly. Maybe we received an email from our VP, and ultimately we conclude our experience of this first round of conducting difficult conversations. As learners, we now get feedback. We get to see how we performed. We can see how we we're able to score with each of our team metrics and our leadership metrics. If we go back to our relationship map, we can see how we were able to build trust with certain stakeholders, maybe erode some of that trust. We can see here, our VP is feeling really happy with our decision making, but Alex, our team lead, not as much. So that's something I might consider when I conduct my reflection. How can I build better relationships with my direct reports? I can also receive personalized feedback. So based upon my score, I can have some action planning that I can conclude, which now gets into some of the next stages. I may go into a debrief session with my manager where I'm able to kind of go through how I performed and begin to identify what are some things I might take with me while on the job. So this could be something that the debrief is in person, maybe it's virtual. There's a few different options. And then from an administrator perspective, there's also data that the admin are able to receive. So taking off our learner hat, putting on the admin hat, there's so much data that can be collected in this short amount of time. So we can begin to see how our individual reports are performing within individual KPI metrics and tracking that. Or if we want to get granular and being able to see question by question, how are individuals responding and taking a look at how that's affecting the scoring, that can then tell us where we might need to have remediation take place, or from a design perspective, how we might redesign our programs. Finally, we have the ability to export everything into data analytics tools like Power BI for further analysis. Okay, we just went through a lot in a very short amount of time. You got to see a little bit more about how this looks from a learner's perspective, how it looks from a SimGate perspective. We now want to be able to hear from you. So I have a poll that I'm pulling back up. Oh, there we go. So which challenge that SimGate addresses resonated with you the most? Which challenge that SimGate addresses resonated with you the most? Okay, so as those are coming in, we can see a wide variety here. So keeping pace with rapidly evolving skill requirements. Yeah, That so resonates, knowing that in the age of AI, we need the ability to quickly help teams upskill, reskill. About 50% of jobs being transformed over the next few years. So that makes a lot of sense. And hopefully today this sparks some ideas as it relates to how you can go about helping your workforce with that.
Wonderful. All right. As we've shown you today, SimGate really represents a fundamental shift from traditional training approaches to AI powered. With this, I do want to answer a question in the chat. Does it work with Articulate and Canva? So Articulate, great for that traditional approach, right? But thinking about leveling up that content level information, that's where we can see skills practice shine. And it does work with Canva. I love Canva. I'm currently using it for everything wedding planning in my personal life. And you're able to import that in. If you all are interested in learning more exactly about how this works, we'd love to show you how SimGate can address your specific challenges, maybe even walk through a specific challenge in Rex and see what we get. So feel free to scan the QR code to book this personalized demo. And we can discuss how you can reduce design and development time by 90% while still improving learning effectiveness and business impact. We have about a minute left, so any other questions, feel free to pop in the chat. But thank you all so much for joining, and thank you for your time today.
Perfect. Yes, I'll keep the QR code up if anybody still needs it, but we will be having the deck on the website and you will be getting that follow-up email shortly. So no worries if you didn't get a chance, but thank you, ladies. That was super quick. Maggie, I think that was an all-time record, like all of those tools. So thank you so much, ladies. This was a great way to end the session and I appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, Liz. Good to see you.
Yes. So for everyone else, I do still have a couple of shout outs before you leave us here today. Thank you again to all of our dynamic speakers and our sponsors, Big Tin Can, CGS Immersive, Corporate Visions, Skooks, and the Regis Company. So again, as I mentioned, all of our sessions are pre-qualified for a credit hour by SHRM, HRCI, ISPI, and CPTM. Send an email to me or anybody on the TI team and we will send you those codes shortly. Additionally, this month, I would love to see you in Milwaukee for the 2025 Training Industry Strategy Summit. It is our first time in person. Collaborate with peers, industry experts, and thought leaders as you build, refine, and future-proof your organizational learning strategies. This is truly more than a conference. It is a working session for learning leaders who want to align learning with business outcomes. So I hope to see you all there. Additionally, optimize your organization's learning technology lifecycle for lasting business impact. Gain an in-depth understanding on how to select, purchase, implement, maintain, and retire learning technologies with Managing Learning Technologies certificate. Additionally, that survey will pop open another tab in your browser, and we would greatly welcome your feedback. Thank you all for joining us today. Until next time, happy Wednesday, happy week. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Liz, and I will see you all very soon. Bye, everybody.